1000万 MLB 翻訳選手チャンネルへようこそ。今夜はドジャースの日本人エース山本由伸の投球に注目です。最高の状態ではないながらも粘りの投球を見せた山本投手、そして明日は佐々木朗希投手がパイレーツと対戦します。どんな球を投げるのか楽しみですね。最後までお付き合いください。ぜひチャンネル登録もよろしくお願いします。
Welcome to Access Sportsnet Dodgers. I'm John Hartung alongside Jerry Hairston Jr., Nomar Garciaparra. The Dodgers have now lost 3 in a row, shut out for the second time this season tonight in what was a great pitcher's duel that we talked about before the game, and it was a case of Paul Skeens out-dueling Yoshinobu Yamamoto tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you can see why Paul Skeens arguably is the best pitcher in the world. I mean, he was outstanding once again tonight for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yamamoto didn't really have his ace stuff. Credit the Bucs offense. They got on the board early. That's all Paul needed.
Yeah, listen, when you knew you were going to face a tough pitcher in Paul Skeens, you knew that if you had an opportunity, you're going to have to capitalize on it. And the Dodgers did have some opportunities, especially when you get a man on third base and no outs and not able to knock him in. So that's something that, you know, they got to look at and recognize, like, man, we had some opportunity at least to try to change some momentum in this game. And on the flip side, too, Yamamoto, yeah, he struggled, but it's still only allowed 1 earned run in that outing, even despite struggling out there. Obviously, the walks, the base on balls, and, you know, you saw the Pirates. You know, they got a lot of guys at the leadoff runner on base 6 out of the 9 innings, so that also is tough to overcome.
And offensively, the Dodgers last year, when they saw Paul Skeens a couple of times, no more, they did have some success against him. They beat him at Dodger Stadium, but tonight you could see that growth in him. He's added a couple more pitches, a great command in this game, 9 strikeouts, no walks in 6 1/3.
Yeah, at the same time, though, too, you know, we heard Dave Roberts talk about, yeah, he's tough. Maybe we get some at-bats here, but, you know, you're looking for that slug. And I think at times Paul Skeens looked like he was also being able to pitch around that slug, where these guys were taking big swings and he was able to really keep these guys off balance. But he mixed his pitches really well. You know, he was hitting the corners as well with the fastball. He established that, so he had that. But he was mixing his breaking ball, and that was tough. There were a few times when you were in an at-bat, and I noticed some at-bats where there were balls where you're like, as a hitter, you're like, man, I can't miss that one. Or that was the one I got in the at-bat. That was one thing Paul Skeens did really well today, was if you were in the course of an at-bat, you may have had maybe one pitch that you had a chance to really not just do some damage, but to get a base hit and put the barrel on it. After that, he was really tough. He wasn't giving in or giving you 2 pitches per at-bat. He was really limited into 1 to a lot of these hitters.
And that's what we talked about in the pregame show. You walk up to the plate against a guy like that, especially when he's on like that. You walk up 2-strike approach. What I mean by that, you shorten the swing, and the first strike you see, whether it's a fastball or a breaking ball, you try to put it in play hard, because we saw him once he got in the rhythm. He is a nightmare to deal with. Great movement on the breaking ball. Great movement on the fastball. Elevate that fastball. Look at that slider there to Shohei Ohtani. And again, he throws that 3-quarter delivery, that split or splinker.
Yeah.
He also threw a nice sinker at 93, 94. So this is not a thrower. This is a polished pitcher. I know he's young of age, but he's starting to really pitch like a 10-year vet. He knows what he's doing, and you're not going to shake him. Obviously, he's a tough kid, so you got to be able to bring your A game, and that's why you say maybe next time we face him, 2-strike approach right away, because you can see when he's on, man, he's tough.
You know, when you watch him pitch, the other thing we recognize is that he really trusts his natural movement on his pitches. You know, out of his hand, they're a strike. They're a competitive pitch right out of his hand. So he knows that he has movement that's going to be hitting the corners or going off the plate, rather than trying to nibble on the other way around it, really trying to maybe backdoor that breaking ball. It doesn't that too often. He's going right at the plate and recognizing that his pitch is going to be darting out of the zone to get the swing and miss, or miss some barrels. He understands that as well. But he definitely is in attack mode, and when you have those types of pitches, I can understand that as well. I know we saw the video and we're seeing the pitches that he's putting you away with. You know he has those put away pitches. What we didn't see is even some of those at-bats where maybe there were pitches where like you fouled it off, or you swung through, or you're like, because you didn't want to get to 2 strikes. That's why you want that 2-strike approach you have, because you do not want to get to there, because he has those devastating pitches.
I would use that on Pedro Martinez, that 2-strike approach when I walk with the plate, but just watching him tonight, he's a bigger, stronger version to me, especially with that 3-quarters delivery of Roy Halladay. I know it's a little bit different delivery, but with the movement on the sinker, the elevated fastball, and the devastating slider, he is tough to deal with. Listen, sitting up here, trust me, I know what it's like to face a guy when he's on. So when you have one pitch in that bat, you try to put it in play hard, but Easier said than done up here. Trust me, I don't forget how hard it is to hit, especially when you face that dude.
Yeah, and you're not going to get a lot of opportunities when he's on like that. The Dodgers in a game, they're down 1-0 in the bottom of the fourth, Nomar. You get Freddie Freeman double, and it's misplayed right field. So you get a runner on third with nobody out. Dodgers weren't able to score that inning. They went 0 for 6 with the runners in scoring position.
Yeah, that was a really key one right there, because it could have really just shifted the momentum there. You know, trying to at least get the one run in, tying the game. You know, it's just a different feeling when you're back in that dugout. And also on the flip side, in the other dugout too, as well. Like, oh, they tied it, here they come, whatever it may be. And now, you know, it changes the dynamic. But the Dodgers know that. You know, they're frustrated. They're going, listen, we get a man on third base and nobody out, and we can't find a way to get him in. And especially, you know, you still have your RBI guy like Teoscar Hernandez still coming up. You still have a guy like Tommy Edman. I mean, you have some hitters coming up that are able to put the ball in play that you would expect to knock him in. It just didn't happen, you know. And sometimes that happens, but at the same time, that's just something you look at. You're like, gosh, we had an opportunity to do something, and we just didn't do it.
And here's the thing. We never make excuses. There's no excuses. When Teoscar came up, that was one of the better pitches. He threw a nasty sinker. I mentioned it earlier. He's a complete pitcher. Teoscar Hernandez is as good as it gets with runners.
He didn't have that sinker last year.
No, he did. And that's the key right there. When you look at him, you come into this game, you look, okay, this is what I'm hunting. That fastball that's elevated. We talked about the elevated fastball, get on top of it. Teoscar Hernandez got on top of it. Unfortunately, it was a 95-mile-an-hour sinker, and he dribbled at the third base. So sometimes you got to tip your hat, man. He made some pitches, then Tommy comes up, that nasty slider, to wipe them out. Here's the deal. Tip your hat. I know it. We've lost 3 in a row. I'm not making excuses. Tip your hat, move on, be ready to go tomorrow to get back in the series. Sometimes you run into a buzzsaw. They did tonight.
All right, Dodgers get shut out 3-0 by the Pirates. Let's head back to the booth. Check in one final time with Joe Davis and Oral Hershiser.
All Pirates in this one, 3-0. They take the opener.
Yeah, it really was a pitcher's duel. I know, you know, we give up 3, but only 1 earned. But it was the walks, really, that started out at the beginning of the game. We walked leadoff hitters 4 innings. 1 ended up scoring. The other ones caused some pressure and had the pitch counts go up.
Try to tie the series up tomorrow, and they've got Roki Sasaki going, who's shown a lot of growth the last few times out.
Yeah, he's cut back on his walks. He went 6 innings, which is really nice. And you know what? He stayed away from the home run ball and the walks. He's continuing to find a way to get that splitter/fork ball in the zone. If he does that, he can be a lot better.
All right, so the Dodgers and Pirates game 2 of the series an hour earlier tomorrow night at 6:10 here in L.A.
Lots. But he had his 8th game tonight.
All right, so the Pirates win at 3-0. Let's go back to Dodger Stadium and hear from Dave Roberts with Kirsten and the media.
I think tonight for Yoshi, uncharacteristic, just command. I think that he was just missing with his fastball. The breaking ball he was just missing with. He was running deep counts. Pitch count got up, certainly in that first inning. You know, gave up a couple 2-out base hits for some runs, which is also uncharacteristic. But I think tonight overall, he just typically has great command, and tonight he just wasn't as pinpoint.
Looks like you have also been excellent, but just to see how he kept your offense off balance, things outside of Andy Pajas, what do you think was just allowed him to excel or limited your team?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's one of the best in the game, and when he needed a strikeout, he did it in that 1 inning and finds a way to limit damage. Kept us off balance with his off-speed stuff, the sweeper, the splinker, obviously the fastball, it's 97, 98. Crowded our left-handers when he needed to get us off the velocity, and just tonight we just really couldn't muster much.
That was him just being dominant, which that was like the stuff you talked about, the at-bats not being consistent.
There's a little bit of both. Not to take any credit away from Skeens, because he still was very good, but I think that, you know, it's hard to hit certainly guys that good when you're chasing the hitting zone versus kind of locking in on your own area. And I thought tonight, as well as, you know, days preceding, we just are not as disciplined as we need to be in certain areas of the hitting zone. So I think, but yeah, I mean, he was still good.
You guys are in 8-10 since that 8-0 start. How difficult has it been for you guys to kind of find your footing?
Yeah, it's been difficult. Yeah, I mean, it's just certain nights we just can't put a complete ball game together. Starting, pitching, the hitting, timely hitting, all that stuff just hasn't been synced up, and we're not too far away. We're going to hit, and some guys are scuffling right now, but they'll find their way.
You guys have kind of trademarked your offense has been like the discipline at the plate and grinding out pitchers. Are you surprised that this kind of lack of discipline a little bit has lasted as long as the season as it has, and at what point does it become something you maybe have to be more active in addressing or something like that?
There's something to that. I think that I hate to talk about mechanics, but I do think that some guys are not kind of in a good spot mechanically where they're just not seeing the baseball like they normally do, which I think leads to some chase, maybe a little trying too hard, but I don't think it's time yet for that. I think that, we've got Roki going tomorrow, and like I said, we face one of the game's best tonight, and expect tomorrow to turn the page and be ready to create some stress and score some runs.
Top tier stat line brought to you by Arco. Nomar Shohei Ohtani, since coming off the paternity list, has been scuffling 1 for 16 with 6 strikeouts.
Yeah, he has been scuffling a little bit. We were talking about, man, sometimes you're looking for that. You get that man strength after becoming a father, that dad strength after becoming a father. And right now, he's just off a little bit. That happens regardless. As a hitter, you're going to go through that. But, I guarantee you, every pitcher that's facing him, you're going, I don't want to be the guy when he breaks out of it.
I completely agree. 1 for 16. Listen, 16 at-bats in the grand scheme of things, really, it's nothing. 4 games. He's going to turn it. I'm hoping it starts tomorrow, but when he gets hot, we've seen it. He'll get hot soon.
All right, let's go back to Dodgers Stadium. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is speaking with Kirsten and the media.
Yoshinobu, when you look at this outing, what did you feel was just missing that was maybe leading to the walks or even the lack of first pitch strikes?
今日の登板を振り返って、何が今日欠けてたとかいけなかったなと思いますか？
立ち上がりから、ボール先行してしまい、なかなかリズムを作りきれないピッチングだったなと思います。
Yeah, it's just that from the early in the game, I was just falling behind in the count, and then I couldn't establish my rhythm.
Did you find, though, at least maybe after that second inning, to be able to get through 5, something was kind of getting back on track, or did you just feel like this was a game where you just felt out of sync?
そのゲームが進んで投げていくうちに5回まで、のうちになんとか普段の力が取り戻せるかなと思いましたか。
2回の、最後の方から、3回4回と。どんどん感覚は良くなってたんですけど、5イニングになっても、なんとかピンチの場面を乗り切れず、すごく悔しかったですね。
As the game moved on, like a second inning, third inning, I did start feeling my stuff was becoming better. However, I couldn't grind it through. I couldn't get out of myself in trouble.
Usually on a night like this where your command is not as good, usually on a night like this, where your command's not as good, is there something that you usually can sort of pinpoint to that sort of causes the command to be off?
こういったゲームの時っていうのは自分でどこが悪かったとかそういうピンポイントで分析して考えたりして投げてるんですか？
やっぱり必ず原因はあるので、それを、早く感じ取ってというか、早くどこが良くないのかっていうのをよく考えて、今日も割と早い段階で調子は少しずつ良くはなってたんですけど、結果的に、すごくリズムの悪いピッチングだったので、良くなかったなと、思います。
So, when game like this, there is a reason for it, and then I was feeling getting better. Actually, as a matter of fact, at the early the phase of the game, but today, because my stuff, I couldn't bring back my normal stuff.
It's a tough one. Dodgers lost, Lakers lost. Kings lost, but they did have 7 strikeouts tonight, the Dodgers did. So that means tomorrow you can go to Jack in the Box, get a free Jumbo Jack for the purchase of a large drink only at LA area restaurants. Tonight, Yoshinobu Yamamoto carried the load. He had 5 of those 7 Dodgers strikeouts. Speaking of Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Nomar, what did you see from him tonight?
You know, a lot what he talked about. You know, when he gets interviewed, he talked about the inconsistency today. You know, like sometimes he found it, and then all of a sudden, you know, it's like, oh, I couldn't really get my rhythm. After short time, we're going to go to the K zone. We're going to see, you know, early on, not being able to command the fastball. We talk about how important it is, when, especially when you have a devastating split finger. Here he is with that leadoff walk. Very uncharacteristic. We also heard Dave Roberts talk about it. But at the same time, you know, there were times when he made some really good pitches there. I mean, that pitch wasn't that bad, but it didn't have the same bite of his typical split finger. That's why it ended up getting hit. When you're on, especially with that fastball, then the bite of that split finger is even more devastating. But we can see here where it's uncharacteristic, getting those walks, some off the plate, but he would make the pitches when he needed to get himself out. Even though he got himself in trouble at times, still finding a way to buckle down, to try to get out of it in some form or fashion. And he did. And that's what an ace is supposed to do. Even when they don't have their best stuff, they still keep their team in it and give you a chance to win. And breaking ball there, getting ground balls, still pitching to contact, still trying to gobble up innings. His pitch count was getting up, so he wasn't as efficient, but that's going to happen when you don't have the command. But at the same time, recognizing still having to make some pitches when he needed to. You know, this one was just tough. Tip your hat, able to stay inside that ball to get that 3rd run, yet still trying to figure out a way. Listen, I got to minimize the damage, still keep it close, that hopefully the offense can get back into this game. Listen, tough day, you know, wasn't his best, but like I said, even the line, when you look at it, still was just 1 earned run over a day where you really didn't have your stuff and that you were that inconsistent. Still gave you kind of a chance to try to win that game.
Yeah, he is definitely a fighter, and that's one thing I really appreciate him. He didn't have his best stuff. He fought, but wrong guy to have one of these nights. Paul Skeens was on the other side.
All right, well, Roki Sasaki is scheduled to make his... Tomorrow, Roki Sasaki gets the ball against the Pirates, looking to build off the longest start of his Major League career. Went 6 innings against the Rangers last weekend, allowed 2 runs on just 2 hits, struck out 4. Nomar, what are you hoping to see out of Roki tomorrow?
You know, hopefully deep in the game. That's what they need, you know, especially when you have your ace in Yamamoto, who didn't go as deep as they would like, as you expect, because usually when you have your ace, you want them to kind of give some relief to the bullpen. So now this is where the other guys have to step up. This is big for Roki. Hopefully he can go deep in the game and give some relief to that bullpen.
And he
as well.
said that's his goal right now, going at least 5. From here on out, he's getting better and better. Hopefully he pitches well tomorrow night.
And also got to get the bats going, Jerry, against Mitch Keller, who's another tough assignment for the Dodgers, the right-hander for the Pittsburgh Pirates. How can they get something going?
Really be aggressive in the strike. So I know a lot easier said than done. Stay away from the chase. Don't forget, free passes. Is there opportunity to pass the baton?
Yeah.
Pass the baton.
Yeah, that's the key. Just find a way to get on there. You know, get on base, you know, give yourself some opportunities and capitalize on them. They had a couple opportunities today, couldn't capitalize them. Capitalize them tomorrow.
Paul Skeens doesn't pitch the rest of the series, right?
He won't pitch the rest of the series.
Good.
Although if you ask him, he probably will say, I would like to.
No.
And Jerry, if the Dodgers want to win the series, tomorrow's game.
Must win. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to go to bed thinking must win tomorrow night.
For Jerry, Nomar, and Kirsten, I'm John. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Pre-game, 5 o'clock if you're at the stadium. Come say hello.
Paul Skeens had 9 of them, 9 strikeouts in this game. Just a dominating performance. 6 1/3, 5 hits, no runs, no walks, 108 pitches, 69 strikes. ERA is 2.39 and 9 glorious strikeouts. Our Coppers K recap as we head back to Dodger Stadium to hear now from Paul Skeens.
Paul, what did it mean, first and foremost, just to ignite the flame that ended up being a shutout against the world champs in their stadium?
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, really just about executing, and you know, sometimes there's a 2 or a 3 in the run column when you execute, but today was a 0, so felt good. Glad we pulled it out.
You've faced this lineup before, but it is elite. What did you, by comparison, feel you did better tonight?
Executed better. You saw it today with a lot of the hits that they got. Like, even when you execute your pitches, they're still gonna find ways to get on. That's not exactly like I definitely executed better today than I did the other 2 times that I faced them, but that's just kind of the nature of it. They're really good hitters and just found ways to get through innings.
I know you threw 16 curveballs, I believe it was tonight. How pleased were you with how that pitch worked?
Yeah, it felt good. Definitely, did a good job kind of resetting their eyes and couple swings and misses in there at times, but yeah, I mean, you kind of got to do different things when you face guys like that. So I was pleased with it.
Was it one of those games where it just felt like everything was working for you?
At times, early my heater command was pretty poor. I thought, actually to an extent, I thought it was pretty poor throughout the game, but kind of had it when I needed it. We knew what pitches we could go to. To get outs, to get weak contact, and we went to them when we needed to. The bullpen before the game was good, but that's a little misleading sometimes. So felt good. It wasn't. There were some big misses in there too. So it wasn't like everything was firing on all cylinders. Just kind of when I needed to execute, I executed.
And now it is time for the road ahead, presented by South Hills Kia, and it is the starters for Game 2 of the 3-game series between the Pirates and the Dodgers. Mitch Keller had to work, but got through 5 innings, allowed just 2 hits against Cleveland on Sunday. Roki Sasaki looks like he's getting more and more comfortable with each start. That walk total alarmingly high, but a lot of those walks coming early. Guys, this is another terrific pitching matchup tomorrow.
I'm stoked. I can't wait to see this young man on the Dodger side pitch. He runs it up to 100. I think with the approach we've taken over the last 4 games, I think he's in trouble. And I think Mitch Keller is going to come out and be the killer.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Keller again. I really like what he's been doing. Get to see a lot of spin tomorrow, just like we saw today.
And again, a little bit earlier start tomorrow, so our pregame coverage will begin at 8 o'clock with Pirates' first pitch, leading up to the game at 9 o'clock. The Bucs take Game 1 of this 3-game set behind Paul Skeens. Nice assist from O'Neal Cruz as well. Final score was 3-0 for Michael McHenry, Stephen Brault, our entire Sportsnet Pittsburgh crew. I'm
山本投手のコントロールに苦しむ場面もありましたが、窮地を脱する投球も見せてくれました。明日の佐々木投手には長いイニングを投げてブルペンを休ませる役割が期待されています。この動画が面白いと思っていただけましたら、ぜひチャンネル登録、高評価をお願いします。ご視聴ありがとうございました。